Hey guys, I just got news of an interview. This would be pretty interesting. Hey bud.
Hey man, how's it going?
How are you?
Pretty good.
Hello everyone, how's it going? I'm here with Matt. I'm just here to interview him basically on his struggles in recovery and basically mental illness, which is what Matt basically struggles with in recovery. So anyways, Matt, can you let everyone know your clean date and what mental illnesses you struggle with?
Yeah, so my clean date is 2/8/18, February 8/18. I got clean due to, a lot of reasons. But particularly one of the things, as you said, that I struggle with is mental illness. I am diagnosed as bipolar schizoaffective. I have residual schizophrenia, and I also have a few other minor diagnoses, but the major part has to deal with the schizophrenia and the bipolar. Thankfully, the bipolar part seems to be pretty well handled. I'm on a good array of psychiatric medicine that I take very well regulated through doctors and blood work analysis and stuff. And I handle it very well. The major issue is the schizoaffective. I have residual schizophrenia. Basically what it is I deal with like your typical schizophrenia, which is, the background noise, a lot of voices. I don't oftenly make out and I don't try to interpret what the voices are saying. But the other part of residual schizophrenia is I also deal with the homicidal, suicidal voices. I deal with the idolations and the voices that try to convince me to kill myself, kill others. A lot of times what I deal with is just, I have really bad self-worth sometimes because of it. And sometimes I just get really stuck in a manic depressive state due to the bipolar issue already. I have very high highs, very low lows. And with the whole mental illness thing, having schizophrenia has just been one of my greatest struggles. It's something that I was diagnosed with a long time ago, before I really even launched into the worst of my addiction. And I used drugs as a coping mechanism and as kind of a medical assisted treatment. Obviously I was not a doctor, didn't prescribe any of that medicine to myself, had really no way of telling what would work or what wouldn't through a process of trial and error. But that's what kept me high for the longest time, was because I was hiding from those mental illnesses. I was trying to, I went through my phases. I went and did uppers and then I went downers. But by the end of my addiction, I really was just trying to hide out and fade out of reality. So, that's definitely been one of those things that since I've gotten clean, I've been working with it and just trying to work with doctors and professional services to deal with my mental illnesses in a different way instead of using illegal drugs and mind-altering substances nowadays.
Wow, and it's interesting. Like I personally haven't had any mental illnesses that I've tried. When I first started recovery, I did deal with some extreme depression, hating of yourself, just the typical stuff that people in recovery do struggle with. But basically, like I personally didn't have to struggle with those kind of things. So it's always good to get another person's perspective that is going through that type of situation that maybe could have a better understanding. Do you know anyone who struggles with mental illness?
Well, I do know a lot of people that struggle with mental illness, and some people that have the same mental illness. I have been blessed to meet a few people who have the same actual diagnosis as me. One thing I can tell the difference between me and them is that the doctors honestly say that I am an inspiration compared to the others. Typically people who have a diagnosis of schizophrenia, it's been really well known, just throughout the time of history, schizophrenics can be very hyperactive, very dangerous people. And so I don't think there's been a lot of studies on schizophrenia, and so a lot of people in the community are like, oh no, a schizophrenic, they look at us as bad as, addicts in general. I have met though a few people who have been able to handle it very well. I think that schizophrenia is a man-to-man and a woman-to-woman thing. Everybody's differently, just like our addictions take us down different roads, even though we have the same solution. Everybody kind of deals with it differently. I've just been very blessed that I've been able to handle it. I've also, like I said, have been handling this since I was a teenager. So I've had a long time to really learn coping mechanisms. I was extremely suicidal I have been honestly suicidal half my life at least. But I'm still here and I'm still trying to figure out how to deal with it the best way. So, you know, I have met quite a few people who do have mental illnesses, but for the most part, it seems like I've been blessed to meet people who have handled them well, and I think it's kind of a joint thing that we all kind of, you know, talk about them and work through them together, and that's the joy of, especially, is finding people who you can relate to, and you can kind of seek out solutions together. So.
What do you usually do when you struggle with these mental illnesses?
So I have a different array of coping mechanisms. Some are safe and some are unsafe. I can do some of my, I guess I'll kind of classify them. So some of my more safe coping mechanisms are going to be things like mindfulness and meditation, as well as just, you know, trying to assert myself out of my head and into a situation in reality. I can be really bad about kind of just disassociating and shutting down. A lot of people who know me at a very personal level know how quick my mental illness can set in. I can be having a wonderful day and I can be flooded in with my schizoaffective issues, and I can literally go from 100 to 0 that fast and keep just having the worst time. So, you know, I deal with them the best way I can. One of the ways that definitely is not a good way to cope with it is disassociating. It's just something I'm really good at. But like I said, I really just try to meditate. I try to stay busy. I try to stay involved. Ever since I joined NA and found this fellowship, I have more than enough people than ever today who really care about me and love me. And so quite often I reach out to these people, and I'll be like in the middle of a manic moment. I'll be telling them, and they'll be asking me, they're like, what can I do for you? Obviously you're struggling, you know, and I just kind of tell them the best thing you can do is to be here for me and love me through this. And so, you know, it's just a time process. All these coping skills I have picked up have been over time. I was not good at any of them at first. You know, some of the coping skills I used to have were obviously things like using drugs, or, you know, I almost used to wing my mental illness. I just kind of let it come and didn't care, didn't stop it, wasn't active about trying to be good with it. And those were some very bad years of my life. So today I just try to talk through the pain. I try to make myself aware and make others aware. I have a very good family at home who kind of works with me and kind of is able to, you know, understand when I'm struggling, and they give me space. So, you know, really, mental illness is one of those things that you feel like it's the end. You're like, you know, when I'm in those moments where I'm just like, I want to die, or I can't do this anymore. It's really just these small increments of time and reality of how long these mental illness problems exist or happen for, in forms of like how long they last per phase. But thankfully, like I said, I have learned a good coping skill here lately, at least as far as meditation and being mindful and just trying to speak with others. So, you know, today I give myself space, and I make others aware of what I am struggling, so that when there's really nothing anybody else can do for me, they can at least know that I'm struggling, and it seems like the love that I receive is enough to help me pull myself out of it again.
All right, sure. I think we're coming up on the location. I'm gonna pull off over here to the side because I think we're getting pretty close.
All right.
Cool, so we're finally actually here. But anyways, so the last question I basically want to ask you is, like, how has the 12 steps for recovery programs helped you with your mental illnesses?
All right, so, you know, for people that don't know, each step has its own spiritual principle behind it. And so as every step that I complete, Obviously it gives at least one key spiritual principle for every step. And so, while I can't tell you off the bat because I'm not well versed in it, I know that every step offers its own spiritual principle, and there's a few of those spiritual principles that have been key to my program. Personally, number one is acceptance, and that's just where I'm at with life today. Everything in life happens the way it happens. I'm not going to say that it happened for a reason. I'm not going to say that everything was pre-written history, but what I will say is that no matter how life hands out, anything to you, that you have to be at a certain level of acceptance to get through it. And so, one of the key principles that I have, and just the way that the steps have worked into my life, is that I use acceptance. May it be acceptance in who I am and what I'm struggling with. May it be, situational awareness and, accepting that I have no control of these issues and that it's best to work on them. There's a lot of ways that the steps have helped me with them. Generally the steps in these programs are meant to kind of help you understand the past, work through them, and then kind of move into the future of life. I didn't really have like a lot of breakage that I was really upset with when I came to this program. I mean, I know I had a lot of amends to make and stuff, but it was really one of those things that the steps have been more crucial towards helping me really understand who I am as a person and how I can better myself than really trying to like assert myself into a different person. So, when I came to this program, and I really thought that that there was gonna be like all these changes, but I didn't understand any of them. It just, over time, you pick up these principles. You start to utilize how to do things like acceptance, loving, empathy, stuff like that. And so, really just with me and my mental illness, there's a lot of acceptance and there's a lot of mutual understanding. I help other people who are in my foundation understand what I'm going through and how they can help me. And then I also accept that, everybody plays a part in my life and everybody's good for something. So, may it be a ear to talk to, may it be someone who could actually offer a livable solution, or may it just be someone who comes into my life who's just there for the key reason of being in my life. Either way, the steps all offer different solutions, but you have to practice them in your daily life. So, this is really just a living thing. Recovery in general is living. And so I have to make a deal with myself every day that I utilize this knowledge that I've learned to better myself, because before I came here, I had none of this education on anything besides doing the most to do the wrong thing. And so it was just really important for me to come in here and really just, again, with acceptance, just be like, okay, so this is where I'm at, this is where I want to go. And, and then asking, how can I get myself there?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of humility and faith to me.
For sure.
Coming into play.
And I've learned this over time either. When I came into recovery, I was so just ready to give up. And I had even reached low points after I got clean. They say you stop finding your bottom when you stop digging. But, I had to shuffle through life instances, and I had to learn to live clean to even understand how to be clean, So you're definitely right. There was a lot of humility of just accepting that that's where I'm at and that I can't really change that. So it's best to work with it. So, and faith for sure, faith and honesty, making others aware of what I'm dealing with and how they can fit into the part of helping me, just as much as having faith that this is only momentary, that these issues that I deal with as far as mental illness are only just tidbits of what actually goes on throughout the day. And so I can't let those little moments of 20-minute or 40-minute or 2-hour sessions of manicness ruin the whole day. I have to move on from it and get back in today.
Do you have any maybe quick answers to help people that might be struggling through this? Like just some quick advice to help?
Seek help. Speak with others, get honest. If you're too afraid to go see psychiatric help with professional services for whatever reason, if you're paranoid with those issues, find a friend, find someone who will listen. A lot of the things that I've learned as far as like getting through my mental illness issues have been from people that I didn't think knew the answers. But because I sparked up that conversation and they were willing and I was willing, we came forward with a solution. So the biggest thing I think I would urge people is to just speak up. You're not fighting this alone. Whatever it is, if it's addiction, if it's mental illness, if it's ego issues, if it's grandeur issues, whatever those issues are, if you find someone, you're already doing more for yourself than you can do for yourself. So I think it's just really important that, that everybody's got somebody. And I just happen to have a lot of buddies. So I'm really grateful for that.
I just want to take this opportunity to thank you for the interview, Matt. I want to thank everyone for watching, and I hope to see you guys all soon.